And ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Good evening. This is Frank Mangano. I'm going to be your host for tonight's call. And tonight we're going to be talking live with clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones. And you'll have a chance to call in and ask Steve your questions. And before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Steve to you. And he's been practicing hypnotherapy since the 1980s. Steve is the author of 22 books on hypnotherapy. He's a member of the National Guild of Hypnotists, American Board of Hypnotherapy, president of the American Alliance of Hypnotists, on the board of directors of the Los Angeles chapter of the American Lung Association, and director of the Steve G. Jones School of Clinical Hypnotherapy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Steve is a board-certified clinical hypnotherapist. He holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Florida, a master's degree in education from Armstrong Atlantic State University, and he is currently working on a doctorate in education at Georgia Southern University. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please welcome to the call clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones. Steve, are you with us?
I am, Frank, and how are you this evening?
I'm doing well, Steve. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Great, great. And before we go on, I just want to quickly tell you who your host is. This is Frank Mangano, ladies and gentlemen. He's a consumer health advocate and natural health writer who's authored and published hundreds of articles pertaining to natural health, and he's the author of 3 best-selling books and an independent researcher, and I might add, my writing partner on a new book that we're writing about the law of attraction.
Thank you very much, Steve, for that kind introduction, and I'm looking forward into getting that book published soon this year. And at this time, Steve, I do notice that we have some callers on the line. But before we get into that, briefly, can you just explain, this is part 8 of our Law of Attraction series, and I think a lot of us tonight would like to know how the Law of Attraction can fit into hypnosis. If you can just briefly explain that to us.
Certainly, certainly. Then we'll get right to the callers. Well, the Law of Attraction fits in very nicely with hypnosis because, as you know, if you want something, you have to focus on it and believe in it and allow it to come to you. And before you do any of that, you decide what you do and don't want. But all of those steps can be helped with hypnosis. So anywhere along the line that you find yourself stumbling or not believing in yourself or not accepting things into your life, hypnosis can help by reprogramming you. And just briefly, let me just say this before we get into the calls. We have set up a website if you want to go to it. It's called gethypnosis.com, and there you'll find a way to help yourself use the law of attraction this year to get what you want.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Steve. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, that site is gethypnosis.com, where Steve has set up a very special offer for the listeners of tonight's call. And now, Steve, if you're ready, I'd like to get our first caller on the line here.
I am ready.
Okay. Okay, caller, state your name and where you're from, please.
Maybe if you identify them by phone number.
Okay, well, we have someone, area code 607. Caller with an area code 607. Are you there?
Okay.
Well, doesn't seem to be coming through. Okay, we'll come back. I see another caller here, Steve, with area code 718. Caller from area code 718. State your name and where you're from, please.
Yes, hi. My name is Denise. I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
How are you this evening, Denise?
Okay, fine. And how are you?
We're doing well. Thank you for asking. Do you have? We're talking live with clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones this evening. Do you have a question for Steve, Denise?
Yes, I do. I've heard a great deal about him. What I'd like to know, how does meditation work with self-hypnosis?
Oh, great question, Denise, and I'm glad you asked that. Meditation is very related to self-hypnosis. In fact, I don't see much difference between the two. If you look at the state that a person's in during meditation and the state that they're in during self-hypnosis, we find that they're identical states. The only difference, one could say, would be that in self-hypnosis, you are programming yourself for change. But then again, when you do self-hypnosis, you don't have to do that. You can make it exactly like a meditation session. So that's a great question, Denise, for those who are trained in meditation and want to become trained in self-hypnosis. You already have the skills. You just use the exact skills that you use to put yourself into a meditative state, and use that to put yourself into a hypnotic state, because it's the same thing. And I want to point out that when you're in that state, no matter if you use a meditation system or a hypnosis system, you're going to the same state. You can make positive changes in your life while you're there by reprogramming the way you think about things.
Mm-hmm. Is there a time limit, on how deep you really can go into hypnosis?
Do you mean, is there a duration, period of time during which you will be very deep?
Right.
Well, no, there's really no time limit.
Mm-hmm.
There's no limit to the amount of time that you can spend in a deep hypnotic state. It's only limited by things like you getting hungry and falling asleep and that sort of thing. That's why I recommend using a recording instead. We have a meditation recording that guides you through meditation, and we have a lot of different hypnosis recordings, and you can use those to put yourself into a hypnotic state. That way you won't have to, or a meditative state, either way you want to call it,
right.
And that way you won't have to worry about falling asleep, because the words are spoken by me, and I'm going to keep talking. Even if you do fall asleep, you'll still be receiving the positive messages for change.
Oh, well, I'm very, very interested then. Okay. I will definitely be in contact then.
Okay, great, Denise.
Okay,
Thank you for calling.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Denise. Have a good night.
Okay, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking live tonight with clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones. We're taking your calls. Please feel free to call in. Area code 347-324-5627. We're taking your calls live. Steve, I see another caller here on the switchboard. Let's see if we can get this person on the line with an area code 607. Caller, state your name, where you're from, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hi, we can hear you. State your name, please.
My name is Ruben.
Ruben, good evening. How are you?
I'm pretty well, thank you. How are you?
We're doing fine, thank you. Ruben, we're talking live with clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones. Do you have a question for Steve?
Yeah, I'd like to know, what is the difference between self-hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming?
Okay, great question, Ruben. And have you studied either one?
A little bit.
Okay. Neuro-linguistic programming is something that was developed by a man named Richard Bandler in the 1970s, and his business partner and hypnotic NLP partner, John Grinder. And since then, John Grinder has kind of disappeared from the scene, but Richard Bandler is still around. He's very active in hypnosis and NLP, and he actually trained me in NLP in the 80s when he was just starting to become popular. He also trained a man by the name of Tony Robbins, who made NLP even more popular, and then changed it into something called NAC, Neuro-Associative Conditioning, which is about the same thing. But all that history aside, right now, currently, the difference is that hypnosis is a state that you use to relax yourself and make changes. NLP is a large body of knowledge in which you form, it can't be boiled down to any one thing in particular, Ruben, but basically the way I look at NLP is you're causing new associations in your mind. So, for example, if you're afraid of dogs, I can use NLP with you to cause you to have a new association with dogs, not one of fear any longer, but one of rapport and pleasantness and relaxation.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay. That's the answer to your question, it would probably take a few weeks to answer thoroughly, as any NLP trainer can tell you.
Right.
But that's the basic difference the way I look at it. If I had to boil it down, I'd say hypnosis is a way to change your thoughts by reprogramming you, and NLP is a way to change the associations you have made.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Certainly.
Would you say that self-hypnosis is the most effective way to
change?
reprogram the subconscious?
I believe so, and even Richard Bandler will tell you, like he told me in the 80s, that NLP is basically a form of hypnosis, so it all kind of comes down to hypnosis. We can argue that NLP is sort of a placebo effect, that if you believe it's going to work, it's going to work, and therefore it is hypnosis. So we get back to, even if you say NLP is better, NLP is really hypnosis. At least that's the way I look at it. Understand, Ruben, you're talking to a very biased person because I am a hypnotherapist, and I'm not an NLP practitioner, though I have been trained in it. But I would say, yes, hypnosis is the simplest way to change.
Okay, I don't know if I can word this question correctly, but at what point would you say the person is the most suggestive for change? Like late at night, right before bed, or?
Good question. And the recordings that we have available on the main website and at gethypnosis.com, all of the recordings are designed to be listened to at night, except for the new daytime affirmations, which are designed to be listened to during the day. But I think that the most hypnotic state that you're going to be in is at night. It's also in the morning when you're waking up. But for me, I don't find that practical. I don't want to wake up and then go back into hypnosis. I want to have this as something at the end of the day when I'm drifting off into a natural hypnotic state anyway, and it can further help me go to sleep and program me while it's doing it.
So laying in bed with a headset on, listening to it?
Absolutely. That's the way I do it.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ruben.
And I'm sorry, that URL again is?
Oh, gethypnosis.com.
All right. I'll definitely go there.
Great. Thank you, Ruben.
For your time. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you for your question. And, Steve, I see the switchboards lighting up here, so we have some more callers on the line. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking live with clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones. We're taking your questions. And right now, we are going to take a question from the caller with area code 347. Caller, please state your name, where you're from, please. Area code 347. State your name and where you're from, please.
This is Laura. I'm from Bronx, New York.
Hi, good evening, Laura. How are you?
Good, thank you.
We're talking live with Steve G. Jones tonight, Laura. Do you have a question?
Oh, my goodness. Yes, I do. I just joined the membership for the Titanium series, Abundance Wealth.
Yes. Great.
And I'm on my second month. And I purchased a lot of hypnosis tapes through the Internet. And I was wondering why these tapes, I was kind of like, they take you into, like, for an example, the first one was going to Egypt, you have the ability to fly. And I was like, this is really something, I wasn't expecting something like that.
Right.
So I was just wondering, what are those, is it supposed to help you relax more?
I understand your question.
I'm sorry, I can't state it as clearly as I want to.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Now your name is Denise, you said?
Laura.
I'm sorry, Laura. I apologize. Laura, what you're referring to is the induction. The induction is just designed to relax you, and it can be a walk along the beach, it can be a walk in the woods, it can be floating in outer space, it can be walking anywhere really, or doing anything. It doesn't really matter. It's just, and the one you're referring to is where you're flying over the pyramids of Egypt, and
yes.
you swoop down, and your hand brushes against
right. And the second one that I just received was, I think it's outer space, some part of it anyway. They're really, they're very effective. I fall out, pretty much, and sometimes when I'm really restless, I can get to the part where you start programming. The actual programming.
Right.
But, I was saying, walking on the beach is something that, we can do, but, like, flying and stuff like that, I was like, okay, I really got to be a little bit more, I guess, I'm really too grounded on the ground here. But
That's fine. And keep in mind, it is not designed to make you think that you can fly or go into outer space.
Oh, no, I realize that, but it was just a very different format than all the other hypnosis tapes that I've had over the years, and I was just wondering, it just took me by surprise, because, walking on a beach, laying on a beach or whatever, and I was saying, So I was just a little curious about that since I joined the program for 12 months, and I just got my second one, and I couldn't even, I was like 5 minutes into it, and I was out. But I have headphones, and I sleep with it. I find that it helps me to really sleep well, which I have a problem with a lot of times. And, I'm just praying that it really starts to, change my subconscious to where, I can be more successful and see more abundance in my life.
Oh, absolutely. And the induction which you're referring to, whether we use outer space or Egypt or a beach, is just designed to relax you. It's designed to kind of distract your conscious mind and relax you. So then when we get to the programming part, your subconscious mind is totally tuned into what I'm saying, and you're very relaxed. So that's the purpose there. And so it doesn't matter what kind of metaphor or analogy we're using, as long as it eventually does its job of relaxing you, which it does.
Oh, absolutely. And if you should just completely fall, into an incredible restful sleep, I mean, would it still work? In other words, you don't have to be awake to hear everything?
Right.
Or do you have to be awake?
In fact, falling asleep is probably preferable because then your conscious mind isn't analyzing everything.
Right.
So while I'm saying you're going to be wealthy, you may be saying in the back of your mind, wait a minute, no, I'm not. So we want you to be as checked out as possible during
so that's cool. Okay, so that means that this is working fabulous for me because that's exactly what it does. I'm just like, by the time you start doing that, I'm in La La Land.
Well, great, Laura. I'm glad.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for calling.
It was very nice to meet you. It was a pleasure.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Laura. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Frank Mangano. I'm your host for tonight's call. We're talking live with clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones. We invite you to call in, ask Steve your questions. He'll be talking with us live. Area code 347-324-5627 is the call-in number. And Steve, if I will, I'd like to take another caller at this time. And I believe we have a caller here named Eric from Bayonne. Eric, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here, Frank. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Eric. Doing well, thank you. Talking live with clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones. Do you have a question for Steve?
Yes. First, I'd like to say, Steve, I used your Stop Smoking Hypnosis MP3. I started it 6 months ago, and I've been smoke-free for the past 4 months. I followed the 21-day program, and it's worked great for me. So I just want to tell you that it really worked well for me, and I appreciate it. But I do have a question about the law of attraction. I've been following your teleconferences recently on the law of attraction. I've read The Attractive Factor by Joe Vitale. I've read other law of attraction literature, and my question is, how can hypnosis be used to implement the law of attraction and to use it effectively?
Oh, great question, Eric. And hypnosis can be used at every step of the way to make sure that you are following the steps of the law of attraction. And the steps, again, are first you decide what you don't want, then you decide what you do want, then you allow it into your life, and you accept it, and you're thankful for it. So those steps, although they seem really simple to follow, people can get hung up along the way. So hypnosis can help program your mind to accept positive changes into your life, to eliminate those things you don't want, to focus on those things you do want, to be thankful when you receive something, and to continue that cycle so that you can continue to be abundant and continue to use the law of attraction in your life. And that's what the website gethypnosis.com is all about, allowing you to have access to recordings which will do this for you, which will allow you to break through all those barriers and have the abundance that the law of attraction talks about.
Yes, I actually just signed up for the abundance program yesterday, and I'm very happy with what I see so far.
Oh, wonderful, Eric. Well, thank you for that feedback, and congratulations on stopping smoking. Thanks
much, Steve. I owe a lot to you, and I appreciate your help. Have a great night.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you, Eric. Have a good evening.
You too, Frank.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Frank Mangano. I'm your host for tonight's call. We're talking live with clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones. Steve, I see a couple other callers on the line here. We invite you to call in, ask your questions live to Steve. Once again, the call-in number is area code 347-324-5627. At this time, I'd like to take the call from the caller with area code 801. Caller, please state your name, where you're from, please. Caller with area code 801. Can you state your name and where you're from, please?
Maybe they fell into a deep state of hypnosis.
It could be.
I heard somebody on the line, I thought. Is anyone there?
Yes, there's a couple of people on the line with numbers. Area code 801. Can you hear us? Okay. Steve, at this time, while we're giving the opportunity for other people to call in, I believe now is a good time. Can you tell us a little bit about this Titanium Abundance Series program for those who haven't signed up for it yet, that's available at gethypnosis.com? Can you explain to us a little bit about the benefits of the program and exactly what it can do for someone?
Sure, and we've alluded to it a little bit in this conversation because it's come up a few times because so many people are benefiting from it. And all it is a series of recordings which you get every month, which I have hand-chosen to be the recordings that you will need at each step of the way to overcome the barriers to your success. So the barriers that you've created in your mind, I knock those down for you one after the other. And if you want to see it, it's at gethypnosis.com, gethypnosis.com. And it's a very straightforward program. It's the Titanium series, which isn't even available. Gold is out, Platinum's out, Titanium is not out. We've knocked the price way down and made it available to you right now. And when you sign up right now tonight, you get the first one right away and you get started. And this is the series that I use to program myself. That's why I'm achieving more and getting more and being more and doing more and giving more to the world, and I want everyone to have access to that, so I've made it available to everyone at gethypnosis.com.
And thank you for answering that, Steve. I'm sure also there are those out there that would like to know, what is the biggest benefit, you would say, out of the Titanium series as opposed to, let's say, the Platinum or the Gold?
Well, the Titanium series is just better. It's got, as the name implies, you gold, platinum, titanium, worth something more. The value of these metals goes up as the series go on, and it's got a lot of programming intricacies built into it, and these intricacies actually allow you to relax in a deeper state. It's a little longer than even the Platinum, so we've maximized the use of the disc, because when we sell CDs, we're limited in space, so we've maximized that. We've got 70 full minutes. We've got my voice panning back and forth. We've got certain waves built into it. It's still got the binaural tones in it. It's got everything that the Gold has, everything that the Platinum has, and then it has the extra parts, which really make it more powerful for you and make it easier for you to change.
That sounds great, and thank you for answering that, Steve.
Sure.
Caller with an area code 801, do you have a question for Steve? Okay. Steve, I'm going to just give out that number one more time in case there is someone else that would like to call in and ask a question.
Okay.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're talking live with clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones, and he's taking your questions live. And you can call us in at area code 347-324-5627. Now, Steve, as we're waiting for more people to just call in, I'd like to just ask you, as the question that Eric had asked you before about hypnosis and the law of attraction and how it works, and I'd like to ask you what is the exact process that can be used as far as tying hypnosis into the law of attraction? I mean, we're all familiar with, as far as following these teleconferences, that there's a 5-step process into using the law of attraction to becoming successful with it. Is there a particular stage in that process where hypnosis comes into play, or would someone start using the hypnosis first?
Well, I, of course, like the idea of using hypnosis first, because if you enter into something and you're not sure that you're going to get the results, chances are you're not, because you're going to back out at some point. So if you prepare your mind with hypnosis and eliminate all those barriers so you just keep pushing forward no matter what, then you're going to have success in applying the law of attraction. So I recommend starting hypnosis early and using it all the way through until you achieve your goals, and then continuing to use it because you're going to set new goals for yourself. And believe me, we're going to be supportive here on this end always, because I'm going to continue to produce quality, helpful hypnotherapy recordings which are going to be with you and be there for you along the way. So I recommend starting hypnosis before you start anything. Pave the way, get rid of all the barriers in your subconscious mind, and then continue using it throughout the process.
And thank you for answering that, Steve. And I notice that with your recordings, the gold, the titanium, and the platinum series also as well, I noticed that you recommend 21 nights. Listen to those recordings 21 nights. Now, can I ask you, how did you come to the conclusion that 21 nights is the most effective time frame to be using the recordings? Does it vary for certain people? Will certain people feel the effects at an earlier stage?
It does vary, yes, and it's not written in stone because nothing about a human being is written in stone. That's a great question, Frank. The 21 nights is derived from research. Research indicates that you need approximately 21 nights, or 21 days, in this case it's nights, to change a habit. If you want to change the way you're doing something, do it differently for 21 days or nights in a row, and what you're going to find is that you've trained your mind to permanently do it differently. So we use the same science with the hypnotherapy recordings in suggesting that you use them for 21 nights to cause that change. So with the Titanium series at gethypnosis.com, what you have is even better than that because you use it for a full month, and then you get the next one. So we add an extra week for you so that you'll really make sure that you get it in there. Plus, some people, for whatever reason, can't listen every night. Something comes up, and I had a power outage the other night. A tornado went through the area and knocked out the power. So that was a night that I wasn't using my hypnosis recording, but that's okay. People worry about that. What if I don't get every night of the 21 nights? So with that series, we built in an extra week. So you can give yourself a week if you think you need it, or you can subtract a week if you don't think you need that long. But 21 nights is the average amount of time that it takes someone to change.
Great. Thank you for answering that. And Steve, let's say that someone has multiple issues. Let's say that someone ultimately wants to stop alcohol consumption and they want to stop smoking at the same time. How does that work with two different hypnosis programs? Should they do one first for the 21 nights and then do the other one, or can they mix them up? What is the best process for that?
Well, what I recommend, if you have several recordings, let's say that you've bought 10 recordings, which is an average number of recordings to buy. Let's say that 3 of those are pretty much about motivation, maybe 5 of them are about weight loss, and a couple of them are kind of not really related to anything. They're about maybe nail biting and fear of flying, just things that you want to overcome. So if you have a grouping of recordings by me like that, then you would listen to them in their groups. You've got the 3 that are about one theme, the 5 that are about another theme, and then the 2 that are not really related to anything. So what I would do in that case, I'd listen to the 3 that are about one theme, listen to one of them every night for in that case, you could probably shorten it up a little bit since they're all about the same theme. You could probably shorten it up to maybe 2 weeks, and then the next one for 2 weeks, and the third one for 2 weeks, and then do that with the set of 5, and then with the next set, since they do stand alone, maybe listen to each of them for 3 weeks each. I hope that makes sense. What I'm trying to say overall is if you've got a group of hypnosis CDs and they're all in a category, you can shorten the time because you're working on the same theme, and it's ramping you up for success.
That's a great answer, Steve, and thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to just give that number out one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking live with clinical hypnotherapist Steve G. Jones. Steve is taking your questions live, and you can call us in at area code 347-324-5627. Now, Steve, I have another question for you, and this is about the daytime affirmations. You recently released those. Can you tell us a little bit about those and the difference between those and the regular nighttime hypnosis recordings?
Sure. Daytime affirmations are, that's something I thought of when I was traveling recently. I was taking a trip out west, and I was listening on my iPod while I was flying and in the airport to my confidence recording. And I was just listening to the script. I didn't want to go into hypnosis. I just wanted to hear the script, and because I didn't want to get drowsy, and I needed to be sharp for when I got off the plane. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice to have a recording that's designed to do that, to bring you not into hypnosis, but just bring you the powerful messages. And that's what the script is all about, the middle part of the hypnosis recording. So what we've done in the daytime affirmations is taken out all the relaxing music and all the relaxing suggestions and just brought you the meat of the subject, the middle part, which is the script, which is the part where you're programmed. It's not relaxing you anymore, and it's not telling you to go to sleep. It's just programming you. So by listening to that during the daytime, you can either reinforce what you're listening to in the same hypnotherapy program at night. Let's say you've got the weight loss recording, you're listening to it for 3 weeks. Well, you can listen to the daytime one during the daytime and make it more powerful. Even if you don't have the nighttime one, you can still use the daytime affirmation because you can play it and do other things and really maximize your time throughout the day.
Fantastic. So you can actually listen to the daytime affirmations and then at night have your normal self-hypnosis session.
Absolutely. And again, that's the way I do it.
Wonderful. Steve, I notice we have another caller on the line here. We have time for one more call.
Okay.
And caller with area code 718, please state your name and where you're from, please.
Hi, I'm Pat from Brooklyn. How are you?
Good evening, Pat. How are you tonight?
Hey, Pat.
Okay. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Pat. How are you?
Okay.
And Pat, do you have a question for Steve tonight?
Well, I have a question, but I listened to everything he said, and I want to get into that because I do have your tapes, Steve, at night, your relaxing tape, which are great, and they really work for me. They really work, and I always was interested to know if I could use that in the day, if I just felt like putting it on and listening to it, which sometimes I have. But it seems now with this affirmation program you're doing, you answered the question, even as a backup to listen to that, or you could still use the other one.
Right. And I want to be clear, and I appreciate you asking that, Pat, and so many people over the years have asked if they can listen to the nighttime hypnosis recordings in the daytime, and the answer is you can as long as you're lying down, and you don't have to go anywhere and there are no distractions, but not if you're doing things.
Right.
So the daytime affirmations you can listen to while you're doing things, so yes, that is the answer.
And I'll tell you the truth, where you do say, you always should consult, speak to your doctor if you understand. My doctor thought it was great because I said, I'm seeing results for my anxieties and things, and, I'm keeping it up, and I think it would be nice, too, now to get this one because in the day sometimes I do like to listen to it.
Wonderful. Yeah, why not add as much power as you can, add it toward changing whatever it is you're trying to change, and I fully agree with that, and again, that's the way I do it.
And it's, it sounds really great, and you got great programs, and keep up all the good work.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your question, Pat. Have a good evening.
You too, dear. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And Steve, at this time, we're almost out of time here, and do you have any final words that you'd like to give to our listeners here tonight?
Well, I want to thank everyone for calling in and being available. Is there anyone that we didn't get to that we should be?
We still have a couple of callers on the line here, Steve, but for some reason we're not connecting with them. We could try one more time.
Okay.
I still see a caller here with an area code 801. If you can hear us, do you have a question for Steve?
Oh, this is Millie.
Millie, good evening. How are you?
Okay. How do you know whenever you're done with one particular thing to move on to the next? How do you know that you've accomplished what you're supposed to have set out for that set?
That's a good question. Do you have something specific in mind?
Well, I have the procrastination one, but I also have the titanium group.
Okay. If you're getting the titanium series, and again, that's at gethypnosis.com. That's the only place it's available. The titanium ones, the way you'll know when it's time to move on is after a month, it's time to move on. So when you get the next recording, it's time to move on to the next recording. Now, keep in mind that you may or may not see an immediate change in yourself. Let's say you listen to the wealth one for a month, and at the end of the month you're not a millionaire, and you're thinking, well, did I get as much as I should from the wealth one? What we're doing is we're ramping you up for success by changing to the next one when you get the next one, and by constantly doing that, you are ramping yourself up. We're creating building blocks, if you will. We're building a structure in your mind. So just trust the process, and as you get the new recording, that is when it's time to move up to it, and everything builds on everything else. So over time, what you're going to notice is that things are turning around. Money is coming in. You are believing in yourself. You are getting things done, that sort of thing. But all of these changes are going to happen as you go through the program, and I think you're going to notice some very interesting surprises in the way of money coming to you and in the way of you holding on to that money and really being positive and powerful in your life.
My husband's doing the stop smoking, and he's halfway through, and he was a little better than a pack a day, and he's down to half a pack.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful.
Yeah, he's got half of the program left to.
Great.
Half of his month done.
That's amazing.
Great. That is very good. A lot of people know this. My father passed away from emphysema about 4 years ago. He didn't want to stop. He didn't want hypnosis or anything else. So I've kind of gone on a crusade, really, to help people stop smoking so that they can protect their lives. And also, when you're smoking, you're setting an example for younger people, if there are any younger people around you, so they can pick up that habit. So when someone stops smoking, it's very powerful for not only that person, but also other people. So you're saving a lot of lives when you stop smoking.
Okay, and I got the 2-pack weight loss titanium, and I can't open it. Is there some way that I can get like another password to it and try again?
What, you receive the download and it's not opening?
Well, you see, this is the procrastination thing. I downloaded it when I got it, and I didn't get a chance to go in and copy my CD. And then I had a minute this afternoon, and I went in to copy it, and I couldn't open it.
Okay, and that's the procrastination one?
Well, no, that's my procrastination habit, because I didn't get to it right away whenever it came through.
Okay. I can respect that. Thank you for sharing that. We will be glad to send you a fresh link since you waited and apparently the time expired. Not a problem. Just go ahead and email support, and we will get that taken care of.
Okay, Steve, I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for calling.
Thank you, Millie. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, Steve, we're just about out of time, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time and to answer everyone's questions for tonight's call.
Certainly, Frank. It's an honor, and thank you for making this happen. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Frank Mangano, great person, and he and I are working on a book about all this, about the law of attraction and how you can make some powerful changes in your life. So look for that coming up.